Copper is everywhere. It's a beautiful material, so it's there in art materials. It's very important for the whole standard of living because it is a basic substance to produce electricity, to distribute drinking water, gas. So it is very versatile and it is very needed for society. In small amounts, it's actually also very much needed for humans. It's an essential element and it's needed for every individual human being, but also for all organisms on life.
Okay, the Environment Agency, its primary role is to protect the environment and enhance the environment. It has a wide range of activities ranging from restoration of river corridors through to permitting emissions from factories and installations, and undertaking science to implement and develop tools to implement new legislation.
So the Copper Alliance has many resources available to support scientific research for regulators. And that support includes finances to start research projects, but also quite substantial human resources, which are available across the globe.
Our first contact with the Copper Alliance was with the sort of fairly fundamental piece of research that we initiated in about 2007, 2008. And it was fruitful from the outset, in as much as it was clear that the Copper Alliance and other metals organisations were interested in this. They were happy to work with regulators, and they were able to bring resources that we didn't have to the process, all of which we were very keen to do.
Every day we still find data gaps when we discuss with each other. We see science brings new questions, regulations bring new questions, and it's very important for us to anticipate on that in a proactive manner, but also sometimes in a reactive manner.
Okay, the Water Framework Directive places upon us requirements to look at the chemicals which may be released into the environment and to control them so that the environment is protected and so that human health is also protected, because the same water sources are used for water abstraction.
There is a range that is needed because the bioavailability in the different EU surface water is different.
We're concerned primarily with bioavailability in terms of its impact on plants and animals in the environment. And if you were to take a sample of water and measure the total concentration of metal in there, only a small portion of that metal will be in a form that can do harm to those plants and animals. That's the bioavailable fraction. And it more or less equates to the concentration of free ions of the metal in the water.
Under the copper risk assessment, we then continued and we assessed what would be the 10th percentile worst case that is available in Europe that we can use as a basic standard. From there to then benchmark to different countries. We have done that, and this means that in several cases we are discussing with authorities to actually higher their standard because it's too stringent. There is also cases where we bring the information to say your standard is actually not sufficiently protective. That is just one example.
So we had some fairly complex models that would predict bioavailability, but we needed a simple screening tool. And this was work that was carried out by external specialist consultants, two in particular, WCA and Arch Consultants, who had a good understanding of the science, but also had a good understanding of the regulatory need. And they were supported by us, and particularly by the metals industry, to move from the complex model, the all singing, all dancing model, to the slimmed down version that we could use, and that was pretty successful.
We can only cooperate with the authorities if we are seen as a credible partner. So we really have to make sure that the information we bring is correct. Facts are facts. It's also very clear that there is always discussion on the margins of the certainty, on the margins of the science, because we know there is always gaps remaining. And it's also in that area, it is very important for us to say and to be clear, this is the margins of our scientists. And then it is a matter of trying to find compromises and to find solutions through further research or to find pragmatic way forwards.
The important aspects of the relationship is that it's always been collaborative. We've not felt that there was a particular agenda to push us in one direction or another. That was important. I think the personal relationships have been important and effective. And we've not always agreed. So we've taken decisions that perhaps the Copper Alliance and others have not always, it may not have been their preferred decision, but they've not interfered with that or unduly tried to influence us, and we respect that.